I'd like to do a roll call first.
Yes.
So that it's official for the recording, and I am recording. And then we can proceed. The only thing we do need to make sure is that we read the legal notice prior to the start of the public hearing. So Lisa Johnson.
Here.
John Brockelman, I haven't seen.
He's not on the commission any longer.
No, he was reappointed.
He
was?
Yep.
Yeah.
Recently? Excuse
Yep.
me. Okay. All right. We can talk about that later.
He was reappointed. So, okay. Bob Hoffman.
Yes.
Sherry Horton.
Here.
Howard Martin.
I'm here.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Barbara Marsh.
Here.
And Matt Ross.
Here.
Okay, and Anne is here, but not yet reappointed, so she's participating as a person from the public this evening. So we have John Brockelman is not here, so that seat, I gotta get my count right here. So Lisa, when we're ready to do the public hearing and really for any voting, you just need to appoint either Barbara or Matt from a voting standpoint to fill John's spot.
Okay.
Okay. All right, it's all yours.
All right, let's call this meeting of the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission to order on October 22nd, 7 p.m. We'll start by reviewing and approving the August 13, 2020 meeting minutes. And Barbara, if you could vote on the minutes, that would be great.
Okay.
Have you all had time to review the minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
A second?
I second.
Thank you. Any changes, additions, or discussion?
The only thing I would think of is the absentee of John.
What?
Put John as absent also.
Yeah,
Was he-
except I don't think in August he wasn't because the appointment happened.
Was after? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't find anything wrong.
Okay.
All right. All in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, very good. Minutes approved. Next, we'll close the regular meeting and open the public hearing. Shannon, if you could read the notice, that would be great.
Sure. Town of Farmington, Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission notice is hereby given that the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission will hold an online public hearing on Thursday, October 22nd, 2020 at 7 p.m. on the following application. Mei Ling and Matthew Kilfoyle application for certificate of appropriateness to install 3-rail split rail cedar fence at 20 Elm Street, Unionville. At this hearing, interested persons may be heard. A copy of this proposal is available by calling the Planning Department at 860-675-2325, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, October 1st, 2020. Unionville Historic Commission, Lisa Johnson, Chair.
Thank you, Shannon. All right, have you all, is Matt Kilfoyle with us?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Matt. Welcome.
How are you?
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, you bet. So Matt, if you would please walk us through your application for the certificate of appropriateness for 20 Elm Street in Unionville.
Sure. Yeah, the side of our property that abuts the Unionville Pediatrics parking lot, there was a pre-existing stockade fence there that had rotted out, and we took it down. And what we'd like to do is put just a 3-rail cedar fence, Cape Cod fence in Canton, is going to provide the material and do the install. And it's in the same location. It's on our property, and it's just that straight shot. It's about 50 feet from the edge of our red barn out to close to Elm Street. That's what we'd like to put back in there, just to dress it up a little bit.
All right. And Matt, did you have a photograph of the fence that you are
I
proposing?
think, yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Sandy helped me out. Yeah, that is the actual, we're not putting the chain link, the fence, the metal fence up against it. It would just be the wooden 3 rails, but that's the one right there.
Very good. Okay. All right, let's, is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Matt, before the commissioners start asking questions?
No, I just appreciate all your time, and yeah, it's overdue. We trimmed some of the bushes back, and we're painting the barn the same color, and
Nice.
just trying to dress it up a little, and thought the split rail would be in character with the house built in 1852.
Very good. Okay. Let us go commissioner by commissioner, and we can ask questions of Matt. So I'm going to start with the first person I see in the little box, and that's Bob Hoffman. Bob, do you have any questions?
The question I had was, why didn't you go with the to match the previous fence?
Well, we thought about it. The stockade fence gave us a little more privacy, but also it costs a little bit more, and we just kind of like the style of the split rail fence a little bit better.
And the major reason for the stockade fence is for?
I guess the prior owner had put it in there just because there is a parking lot there. It's Unionville Pediatrics parking lot, and just to get a little more privacy. But I think we have another fence further in our property, and we're comfortable just with the split rail instead of the stockade.
Okay, thank you.
Barbara?
Now, I was going to ask about the fence also, since it doesn't match the fencing on the rest of the property, at least what I saw in the picture. But I, after looking at the picture of your property, you definitely need, I think, something there.
Yes.
Because it almost would look to someone as if they could pull in there and park, because it just goes right into the parking lot.
Exactly.
So that you should have a separation.
Agreed. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with this fence. I was, also just curious why it wasn't matching the rest of it.
Yeah, there is a white picket fence.
Like a white picket fence?
In the front of the house and over on the Maple Street side.
Right.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, that's true. That's a good point. We just kind of like the style of the split rail a little better, but
Okay. Any more questions, Barbara, or comments?
No.
Okay. All right. Sherry?
Yes, I agree with Bob's and Barbara's comments and questions. I guess my only question is it the exact same length, Matt, as the previous fence?
yes, it comes up, if you're looking at that photo right now, it comes up a little short of this bush on the right. Yeah, a little between that white car and the bush. So it's about, there still will be a small gap there. But it goes right up to that bush. That's
Okay.
the plan. But we didn't want to cut the bush down. We wanted to keep that there.
Mm. No, I like the split rail. I think it's nice looking and unobtrusive, and yet it forms a barrier of sorts between the properties. So that's good.
Yeah, we've since this picture painted the barn again red, at least this side, and then trim those bushes back. But yeah, we just want to clean it up a little. It's overdue and it's such a visible spot for Route 4 and, you know.
Good. Any other questions, Sherry?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Howard?
I like the idea. The question I have is the white fence that we see in this picture does it continue on the other side of the driveway?
Yes, it
Yes.
does. It goes in the front of the house and over to the corner of Maple Street, and then on that side as well.
And does it return back toward that bush that you're saving also?
No, it doesn't. This small section of fence is well, I should say there's the property ends right to the right of this photo, and
Okay.
Unionville Pediatrics has a nice white picket fence that's a little taller that then continues to the entrance to their parking lot.
Thank you. That's the only question I had.
Okay, thanks, Howard. Matt?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt Ross.
Oh, sorry.
Rich and Matt.
That's okay. The question that I had has already been asked. It had to do the same thing about, the whether or not the reason for going with the 3-rail versus continuing with the white picket. I think, my only other question would be, at some point, would you guys be looking to replace the remaining white picket with the 3-rail, just for consistency's sake? But I understand the reasons for going with the 3-rail.
Yeah, I think right now we weren't, we've been painting it, trying to maintain the picket fence, but we weren't planning on replacing any other parts of the picket fence with split rail. It was just really this one shot that is just so wide open. Something needs to be there. And yeah, we just thought the picket or the split rail would be okay for filling that gap.
Yeah, good.
A lot less work down the road.
Yeah, well, that's true. I've been painting this thing every few years, and that's very true.
Yeah, it's a labor of love. Okay. Thank you, Matt Ross. All right, I have a little surprise for you, Matt Kilfoyle, and I'm going to ask Shannon to bring up the photos that
Oh, wow.
This is your yard, Matt Kilfoyle. And I think that little boy is maybe 1920s, 1930s, and the fence in the background borders, that would be the doctor's parking lot on the other side.
Ah, okay.
So they did continue that fence around.
That's great. I love it.
Isn't that something? These came from Peter Van Beckham, who was one of the prior owners of your house, and he's glad to share them with you. But you can see they must have spent a lot of time painting with that fence going on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
well, it's funny. All of you are giving me second thoughts now. I really like the split rail, but yeah, that looks great too. These are great photos.
Aren't those wonderful? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who those children are, but yeah, I wondered, Matt, if you had other pragmatic reasons for wanting to use the split rail, as opposed to using something that matched the white picket fence. You mentioned maintenance, which is totally understandable. Did you want a fence that was a little higher also for a barrier?
Yeah, I think we did want it a little higher. It was mainly maintenance and frankly cost at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Well, these are just a little bit of inspiration for the future for you, perhaps, but
well, that's a very good point. And I mean, the split rail wouldn't need to stay there forever, although we want to do it and keep it there for certainly a while, but these are great.
Good. I'll make sure you get I'll send you the digitized versions so you have them for your portfolio. I mean, truly, you know, the guidelines for the historic district do not require you to replace something that was not there when you bought the house or when you put the house in the district. So, you know, we're not, would never say to you, you have to do this picket fence. That would not be right according to our guidelines, and it wouldn't be fair. And from my point of view, I think the split rail is definitely an improvement over what was there. So, and next to your barn, it's kind of a perfect combination.
Yeah.
Coming out from your barn.
Yeah.
Your carriage house, rather. That's more of a carriage house. But so I agree with the other commissioners that it's appropriate, and we understand the necessity, and hope you can get it in this season.
Yeah, that's the hope. And thank you. I know Sandy, you guys kind of rushed it to get it in before the commission, so thank you.
All right, we do have to vote, so I am going.
We're going to do,
Oh,
I'm going to interrupt just briefly because it is a public hearing.
Yes.
So we can ask for public comment, and if anyone else wants to share any comments, and I'm looking, we don't, we do. So we have a couple people that are just on watching. So, so if you want to raise your hand or make an acknowledgement that you'd like to speak, then we can acknowledge you and allow you to speak and ask any questions of the applicant, and then we can move ahead. So you can use the Zoom feature to raise your hand electronically. Okay, I'll just ask one more time. Are there any public comments regarding the application for 20 Elm Street? You can raise your hand via Zoom and we'll allow you to speak. Okay, hearing none. So we can proceed then, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. So Matt Ross, would you please vote?
I vote in favor.
Oh, well, okay.
Well, no, we need a motion. She's just assigning
Yeah,
you to
you want
vote.
a
Sorry.
you want a motion? Oh, got it.
You're jumping in.
You're being assigned to vote.
Okay.
So on top of that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the certificate of appropriateness as presented.
Thank you, Matt. Can I have a second?
I second. This is Howard.
Okay. Any discussion or comments? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the certificate of appropriateness for 20 Elm Street, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. The certificate of appropriateness for 20 Elm Street is approved. Thank you, Matt Kilfoyle.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Great. All right. So we will now reopen. We'll close the public hearing. Do we have to take a vote on that, Shannon?
No, basically with the voting of the application, you're all set. We can move on to the next item.
All right, you just need to tell them that it's accepted. That's all.
Yeah, he was on when we voted, Bob. So he heard the vote. All right, so we'll close the public hearing and we'll now reopen the regular meeting of the commission. And I have lost my agenda, but thanks to Shannon, I can see what we have next on our agenda, and that is the schedule of the 2021 meetings. We are going forward, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Let's get out of this 2020.
Yeah, let's just jettison 2020.
Seriously, I think we should all burn our calendars. I've never done that before, but I'm seriously considering doing this.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
idea.
Have you all seen the meme of the guy who's sitting there and it's 12/31/2020 and it's 12:59 p.m. and then there's the next image next to it and it changes and it's 13/1/2020.
No, 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 no.
That's great.
Evil.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. So it looks like we're sticking to the first Thursday of each month. Shannon, our regular.
Correct. Yep. And we've left all the meetings in. I know sometimes we skip July or skipped August, but we can always cancel them if we find we need a break in the summer and there's no COAs ahead in front of us. So we've got them all in there.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the calendar for 2021.
Thank you,
I
Bob.
second.
Thank you, Sherry. Any comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the schedule of the 2021 meetings, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any, I can't think of the word, denials? Any no's? Okay.
Nay.
No, I can't. Just
Nays,
think of anything.
All right, we have a schedule for next year. Thank you, Shannon.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome.
All right, and what is next? Let's see. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to the expansion report. I believe Shannon talked with or had a correspondence with Mary Dunn very recently, so she'll update us.
Yes. So, Mary, I had to inquire because I think you folks are familiar that we've got 2 expansion reports that are proceeding almost in parallel. Farmington Historic District's a little ahead, and then the Unionville Historic District 1. So at any rate, the Farmington Historic District 1, after a flurry of email exchanges with Mary at the end of September, hit the October agenda at the state, but I have not yet received that letter. And then I also inquired about the status of the review for the Unionville Historic District 1, and she said, oh yeah, we've got 2. So we're pushing to get that on their November agenda. And I am now receiving a flurry of emails with requests. So there's a couple of emails that came in today that I haven't had a chance to take a look at, but my guess is there's going to be just some minor edits and things that she wants adjusted or additional information, which similar to Farmington Historic, we'll pull it together and make sure that this hits the November agenda for them. And we will follow up accordingly. So I don't think there's anything, again, I haven't had a chance to read her emails today, but I think most of them are clerical type things or just requests for additional information. So if this hits the November agenda, hopefully we get that response. I'm tentatively setting the Farmington Historic District public hearing for December, assuming I get the positive referral from the state. And then we can probably do ours then for Unionville in January. So we'll get these sequential. It's also helpful because the clerk's office really couldn't do it any sooner than that anyhow, because they really are right up here with working with the registrar's office for all of the voting and balloting that's taking place. So, so from a timing standpoint, it's probably all for the best from that standpoint.
Good, that's great. Good.
Right.
Thank
and
you.
Lisa, if I need anything, I'll reach out. You know that.
Please do. I'm here.
Shannon, is the expansion report still the same as what the town council, the preliminary expansion report that the town council received at our last meeting? Still,
correct. It's the same. It's the same.
Properties.
Yeah, it's the same 4 properties.
Okay,
yep.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Good.
If I can add a few things, I know I emailed everybody regarding Carol Ketchum's house. Yes. Luke did stop over. The kids and I were roasting marshmallows in the backyard one night, and he popped over to join us and asked about some questions about the historic district. So I did kind of bring him up to date on what our guidelines are and what our purview is on things. But he indicated to me at that point that they're closing, that he and Tracy were planning on closing on the house on the 11th. I know it hasn't been updated in the assessor's records at this point, but my understanding is that everything's done, that they have purchased the house. The only thing he indicated to me in terms of exterior improvements is they still haven't decided what they're doing in their existing house, and his loss of his large garage and workshop area, he was looking at potentially in the future at rebuilding the garage on the property, on the Ketchum property. So
Matt, they are moving across the street, is that?
Not immediately, but that's kind of the long-term plan. They're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with their existing home. So, and you know, it's a large enough family that I know that there's some young Phillians in the area that are young families possibly might be interested in moving in too. So, but ultimately, Luke and Tracy are looking to move across the street into Carol's house.
Okay.
And honestly, from my interactions and knowing Luke, you know, there couldn't be a better person for preserving an old house like that. So
that's great.
That's great.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Matt.
Matt, once the sale is final, and for me, final is when it hits the assessors. I like the transaction, all the legal stuff is complete. Right. Do you think it'd be appropriate to, we could do a letter with a copy of the guidelines?
Yeah.
That's
a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shannon, that would really close a loop, I think. I don't know that that's happened before. And I think that makes such brilliant sense to do that, to let people know what the expectations are.
Yeah, we don't always have firsthand knowledge, right? Like we do of this, that the house is transferring. So I know, Bob, you mentioned there's, was it Janine? Do I have that?
Janine's, yes.
Janine Ransom, yeah.
Okay, right. So there's a new homeowner there. So we should probably do the same thing there then too.
Yes.
I
believe the closing was supposed to be today. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you have the actual?
I did hand them websites and information so they can reference more information about how we work and how the structure is for the historic districts.
Okay. Do you know, because I apologize, I don't know the street. Do you know the street number of the house?
42.
22?
42.
Oh, 42. Okay.
Shannon, do you know, was anything ever sent officially to 1773? I mean, I gave Bob and Gigi a copy myself and kind of talked to them and invited him to a couple of our meetings, but that's the brick house where Chris used to live across the street.
Oh, probably not. Thank you. I'm like, who's Bob and Gigi?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I got so many things running. Okay.
I know.
1773 Farmington. Yeah, I can just have Sandy put a couple of these together. I don't think it was like it just, since we've now had like a little more conversation about it, I'm like, oh, this kind of makes sense. Like just send a welcome, like, hey, welcome to Farmington, welcome to the historic district.
Yeah, definitely.
There's some useful information.
Well, and they've settled in. I say just, there must have been May, June. They had a child in May or June, I believe.
Okay.
And so they are settled in, and again, we haven't been able to have a lot of conversation. And it's kind of that typical thing same thing we do with the Webbers. It's across Farmington Avenue. So, you're yelling across the street saying hi and stuff like that, but
right.
But they are an addition to the neighborhood, and I think they're here for the long run as well. So
Great. That's great.
Okay.
COVID has kind of put the squash on getting together with neighbors.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, the virus has certainly been a pain with that. But yeah, so what I'll do is just three welcome letters. You know, a welcome to the historic district, welcome to the town of Farmington and Unionville. And then I'll include a copy of the guidelines and obviously our contact information, and keep it simple. I won't be too, just here's the information so that if you have any questions, you've got a handy reference. Any further questions, please feel free to give us a call. So
that's great, Shannon. Wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful. We'll have a party later.
We will have a party.
We will have a party later. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that, everybody.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. So an educational meeting for the spring, we did not do one last year for obvious reasons, but they have been successful. We did come up with some ideas in a previous meeting, but I wondered if any of you had had a chance to think about it, or any ideas have come to mind about what we might do. Clearly, I think we're still going to be in the arena doing Zoom meetings, but we're getting better at it, and people do attend them. So it's definitely worth doing. So any thoughts about subject matter? Oops, lost my screen. Are you there?
Yep, we're here.
Yep.
All right, I lost my screen. I can't see anybody, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're all here.
I know what you look like, so. Well, if nobody has any ideas that come to mind, I'm just going to say we're in the middle of construction right now. And we have, for the first time in our 32 years here, are now working with the core of the original 1842 house. And it is fabulous. We're having a great time uncovering all sorts of amazing information. But one of the reasons we've gotten into this construction project was to put central air conditioning into the house. And it's been an incredible journey for us to find a contractor and a business who will do this the right way. And so I would suggest bringing in someone to talk about air conditioning in historic houses and historic districts.
That sounds great.
Yeah, really interesting.
So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Not having a historic home, I was just wondering, besides air conditioning, which I think is probably major for everyone, what other things are kind of central to repairs that they all have to do routinely, that maybe we could, whether it be siding or shingles, and talk about that. Again, there are certain things that have to be done every 10, 20 years and in every house. And of course, these are a lot more fragile in some ways. So it might be interesting to get some information out.
And I was kind of thinking along the same lines. I know a couple of years ago we had Sanford and Holly come in and present on different building materials. Based on our guidelines, we prefer like for like in terms of materials, but there are some newer things even in the last 3 years that have come out on the market that are a little aesthetically are closer to the natural materials, but are not necessarily the natural materials. They're composites or remanufactured. It might be good to get an update on some of those. Okay. I was kind of thinking along those lines, even when Matt was presenting to us on his fence, even on the fencing arena. I mean, the materials that are out there now in fencing have changed in the last 5 to 6 years. So, and they're more durable, that, it's low maintenance. However, they present more like the natural materials that might have been in place at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea, Matt. Would you, Matt, I don't know how you would interact with the folks at Sanford and Holly, but do you feel comfortable connecting with them and just seeing what they would suggest? I think we did that with them last time, and they came up with some ideas that were great.
Yeah, I mean, are there any focuses? You know, do we want to just go with just the general materials, or are there any, you know, siding, fencing, decking? Is there anything in particular that anybody has any interest in?
My guess is there's probably time to cover any of the exterior materials. Right?
Okay.
Some of them have porches, right? So we've got porches and then the railings for the porches.
Yep.
Columns.
What did you say?
Columns.
Yeah, the columns as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw there was and I'm almost certain it's a historic district home in Farmington that was just undergoing a porch renovation. And I noticed that they were putting the composite columns up in place.
Oh, really?
Right
Wow.
across from the church. There's a house, and they jacked the porch up, and I'm almost certain there was a sign. You guys there was a sign up for a public hearing there, and then I forget who's doing the work, but they replaced the columns on the porch with the composite columns, and they had the base and the top that slid down over it and everything. I mean, once it's painted and everything else, you can't tell the difference.
You can't tell the difference. Yeah, yeah. So exterior materials, we could just ask them to talk about that, because one material could be used for some, you know, porches, columns, even fencing. Yeah. Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll reach out to Sanford Holly.
Okay, great.
And then we can think, you know, Matt, let them know it would be spring. I think typically we've tried these in February or March.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll shoot for the same time frame.
I could check in with the guys who are doing our air conditioning. It's Air Serve, and they're in South Windsor. So they work with a lot of the historic buildings in South Windsor. There's a huge historic district there. And I could see if they'd be interested in doing another one of them, just about, in general, working in historic buildings and what kind of systems are best and what to be careful about and so on and so forth.
Now, do they do just AC or do they do heating too, Lisa? Is it an HVAC?
They do heating also. They do heating also, yeah.
So, I mean, certainly, you know, trying to redo heating in some of these homes that have the radiators. So I think there's room for both of those conversations.
Okay. Okay.
Putting ducts in must be interesting.
Yeah, because you need interior spaces to put some of the mechanical.
Right.
Right.
And I've got to say, they were our fifth contractor we talked to. We were really despairing. We thought that was it. We weren't going to be able to do it, but he had the experience to be able to really think creatively, and he was actually more rigorous about the exterior appearance than we were. I'll go ahead and confess it. Because he's worked with some pretty rigorous historic districts. So that was a terrific contribution. So I'll talk to them as well and see if they'd be willing to do it. And great. Okay.
Hey, great.
Yeah, if we pull something together, we'll you know, we'll do what we've normally done. I don't know. Yeah, we can still do mailers. We'll do mailers, and then we'll let our friends over at the Farmington Historic District know as well, and they can join in and listen in if it's something that interests them. But we'll make sure both historic districts get notified.
Terrific. Good.
So.
All right. Well, I can't see the agenda, Shannon. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know,
No.
I forgot. You said you lost your screen. So the only other thing was other business, if anyone has anything else to share or discuss this evening. I can't.
I just wanted to tell you about a repair that I have to make. During the August 4th storm, good-sized branch of a black locust tree fell on the front gable of my house and gouged out the very peak of it a little bit. So I need to have shingles put back there, and he hasn't done it. It hasn't been done yet. I assumed that since it was a fairly small repair, that I didn't need a COA. But if you disagree, I will go through the process.
You're repairing in kind.
Excuse
right?
me?
Like you're doing a repair. So it's just, is it just shingles or is it some of the framing that needs to get done too?
I think it's just the shingles. There's a little gouge and some
No.
scraping.
Yeah, no, it's just a repair and you're not changing anything.
Nope.
So, yeah,
No.
it's using the same materials, so.
I just wanted to let you know and ask.
Yeah. Good.
The only thing I have is I'm wanting to put a cobblestone at the bottom of our front steps walkway. It's only like 3 by 5, so it's really small. That would be the only thing I'd be interested in putting in before it freezes here.
Is that replacing a piece of a cement sidewalk, Bob, or what?
No, it's just dirt.
So you're changing the look of it.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. People have broken their bones just stepping off the edge of the step, and there's no level ground there. It's just kind of slopes into a hole. So I want to build it up in a little bit, which is maybe an inch or two, so that that doesn't happen again. Make it flat. And the cobblestones sound like a good idea because I'll be able to get the moisture to go between the stones, and it still won't be a major problem in the wintertime, hopefully.
Are the cobblestones going to go into some kind of a mortar matrix, or are you just going to put cobblestones on the dirt?
There's this stone dust, they call it, that you put down underneath it. It should have at least 1 or 2 inches of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also, once you have that in place, nice and flat and compact, you can get some more, and then you spread it with water on top so that it fills in between all cracks.
Bob, I would recommend polymeric sand between the stones, though, because the polymeric sand will seal, so you don't end up having weeds and everything else growing in between.
Okay, thank you.
Shannon, what do you think? That doesn't sound like a permanent feature.
It does, doesn't it?
No, it does or it doesn't. Is that?
I think it does.
Well, yeah. So, Bob, if I understand, and I apologize because I haven't been at your home, so I don't understand. I mean, really, the driver here is the visibility from the street, right? So it's how visible is this from the right of way? If it's flush to the ground and you have you have concrete, so you have concrete steps that come down from your front door, and now you want to basically create a landing.
A landing on what is now just lawn.
Okay, so your front steps come out to lawn rather than out to a sidewalk or something that connects to the driveway.
Correct.
I could swing by and take some photos and take a look. I'd have time tomorrow, but if it's going to be flush to the ground and not raised and it's cobblestones, it's probably not that big a deal. But again, the metric is it visible from the right of way? So
yeah,
Right.
Technically, probably if you're driving by or standing, then it would be, and it would be a change regardless of how minor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shannon, I have some time tomorrow. If you want me to take some pictures, I could shoot them to you. Does that help you?
Sure. Yeah, if you've got the time to swing by, absolutely.
Let me do that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, Bob, we'll check it out.
Thanks for bringing those photos in of the Elm Street house.
Wasn't that fun?
That
I was reminded that there are so many great photos in people's private collections, and it was just so propitious to see something that was covered the area that Matt Kilfoyle was talking about. Not to mention those adorable children. So
I love all the bonnets, right? And the carriage and the bonnets.
yeah,
that you don't see anymore. You certainly don't see anymore.
you certainly don't see anymore. That was fun. Good.
Okay.
Well, does anybody else have anything else they'd like to bring up or discuss? No? Okay, well, hearing none, can I have a motion to close the meeting?
Make a motion to close today's meeting.
Thank you, Howard. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Barbara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.